so you need a new camera. But you don't want that cheap webcam look. Well, right now the probably the two most popular cameras going are the Canon EOS M200 and the Sony A5100. Both of them are about 500 bucks. It's not cheap, but it's much cheaper than some higher end DSLR cameras. Now, there is absolutely no comparison between a webcam and a mirrorless camera like the M200 or A5100. For the money, the quality that you're going to get from the M200 or A5100 is quite nice, but can your cell phone compete with it? Now, the answer to that question is going to vary. If you have an older cell phone, a Galaxy S4, S5, an iPhone 5 or 6, LG G5, G6, the answer is going to be no. They'll work great as a webcam. They might be a better quality than your standard webcam, but they're not going to compete with a mirrorless camera like the M200 or A5100. But what about some of the newer phones, the higher end phone? The Galaxy S20 Ultras, the S21s, the Note 10, iPhone 11, is there an iPhone 12, an iPhone Max, the Huawei P20 Pro, the P30 Pro, some of these flagship phones that have high-end cameras in them. Will they compete with a dedicated mirrorless camera like the M200 or A5100? I'm going to take a Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra and we're going to put it up against the Canon EOS M200. Now, the one thing about the newer mirrorless cameras, most of them come with a webcam utility that you can download from the manufacturer's website. Canon has one. Some of the DSLRs, they're known to overheat when using the app because the camera is doing quite a bit of processing. And the other downside to them is it is limited for every camera that it supports 1024 by 548. If you want 1080p or higher, the only solution is to use a capture card, HDMI to a capture card, which you can get relatively cheap on Amazon, 20-30 bucks for your basic 1080p 30 frames per second. If you want to get 1080p 60 frames per second, you're looking probably 70, 80, 90 bucks depending on the company. The point is, you have to spend extra money on top of your camera. But with a phone like the Galaxy S20, we're using a $7 app, and it's called DroidCam. The app is actually free for the base version. Pro version is like $6 or $7, and it unlocks higher resolution. So instead of 720p, you can get 1080p. But if you already have the phone, is that $7 going to outperform or perform just as well as spending $500 on a camera and $100 on a capture card? Time will tell. Okay, so top left is the EOS M200 using the webcam utility. That's at 540p. You might not be able to tell the difference in resolution, like if you're watching on a phone screen or something. It's pretty clear. You can definitely see the difference on a computer screen. Bottom right is the S20. You can definitely see some clear differences between the two. Both are over USB. One of them is using the EOS webcam utility, which is the EOS camera, and the other one's using an app called DroidCam OBS. Both look okay. Definitely not too shabby. Both do they do have some depth of field, so they do like kind of blur the background a little bit, and like the closer you get, the more blurred that becomes. Certainly the S20 is the more detailed picture, and I think it's more accurate when it comes to the colors. These specific settings, which are auto. This is just auto mode on both of them, so it's autofocus. If I put my hand in front of them, you'll see it'll focus. And so the Samsung is a lot faster when it comes to the focusing. The EOS is a nice smooth transition. The S20 is almost instant. But yeah, they're both pretty similar. Definitely you can see the resolution difference on a big screen. This out of the way for a second, we'll get rid of the Samsung and put this in full screen. You can really tell there's a lack of resolution here. This is 540p. This is the maximum resolution you can use with the webcam utility. There's a bit of delay there too as well. There's a bit of the lag, which doesn't seem to be present with the Samsung. The Samsung seems almost instant. There's definitely some lag. So if you're planning on using just the EOS webcam utility without going to the HDMI, the Samsung is going to do a better job. It's faster. It's running at 60 frames per second. If we get some movement going here, you can probably see the frame rate difference. So if you're not planning on going with like a capture card, and you're not going to use like a dummy battery, because you're going to want a dummy battery. The Samsung, you plug it into your computer, you put the app on, and it charges the battery while you're doing this. The EOS, the battery will not last very long. It's going to be like 20 minutes, half an hour tops, and that's going to be it. It's going to be pooched. Also, the EOS utility heats the camera up quite a bit. The Samsung, on the other hand, it makes zero difference to it. It's like it's not doing anything. It's just there. So you're getting a better picture, longer lasting battery, an infinite lasting battery because it's plugged in. You're getting a better frame rate, you get better resolution, better picture, better responsiveness, less input lag. You can see the difference. And these are both over USB 3.0. But if I hook up the camera via HDMI, does it make it that much better? Let's test that out. Okay, so now the M200 is hooked up to a capture card. It's a cheaper Amazon capture card. You can actually see now that we're doing this, it might have a slightly better frame rate than the Samsung, which with the app is pushing for 60 FPS, but it's a more of a variable frame rate than a constant frame rate, whereas the capture card, I think, is actually getting 60. It's a little bit smoother movement. You're not getting that input lag that we were getting before. You can see as the Samsung focuses on something close, the background gets a little bit darker actually. But they both do a good job. Like if you look, the background gets blurred, you know, and then the transition is there, and the background is still slightly blurred. If I get further back, I come back here, you know, this is all in focus. If I get back and close, you can see things start to blur. And if we get in right close, you know, it'll focus on what's up front. So yeah, there's some quality differences there. Now, if we actually bring this guy in full screen like we did before, they're both a very sharp, clean image. Little variances in color. You can expect that from different processors, different chips. They use different things, to different lenses, all that kind of fun stuff. But both are a nice, sharp, clean image. Both have that kind of blurred background a little bit. The autofocus, usually when I'm using the S20, if I'm using the S20, I turn autofocus off. I just set my focus. So like if I'm here roughly, I set it that way because I don't like it. It's so fast. I don't like the way that it bounces around with a little bit of movement. You know, you go like this. At the end of the day, both are a great picture. Both are fantastic picture. They're good quality. They both do the same thing. And you're talking about a cell phone that you might already have in your pocket that you need a $6 app for, or going out and spending $500 on a camera like the M200 or the A5100, and then getting a capture card, getting the dummy battery because otherwise the battery is going to die. Which one is better, do you think? Like, you tell me in the comments what you think is the better quality picture. To me, they're both high quality. They're both right up there. There's definitely some differences, but differences are to be expected when you have two different manufacturers and you're talking about a cell phone versus a dedicated mirrorless camera. So there's going to be some difference. Right now you're looking at the Samsung S20, and now you're looking at the M200. Both are on auto settings. It's a toss-up. They're both great pictures. There's nothing wrong with either of them. They're slightly different, to be expected. They're going to process colors differently. They're kind of focused differently. The EOS has a much larger lens, so it should have a much larger sensor for low light and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, if we turn off the lights like this, and like This, just with the auto settings, neither of them are the greatest picture. Neither of them are completely in focus now. They're having a hard time. They're struggling. But the Samsung is doing the better job at brightening the image. If you look at the difference, that's pretty dark. And that you can still see. And this is with pretty much all of the lights off except for the colored LEDs, which we're just throwing in there for some video ambience and whatnot. The choice is going to be yours. If you want to spend that money and you don't... The thing with using my phone, I hate the fact that I constantly have to plug it in and unplug it every time I want to do something else. And then when I sit back down, I got to plug it all back in and set up my angles again and try and get everything the same. And I don't like the wear and tear on the USB port, the charging port, because once that goes, you know, it's just a pain in the ass if you got to take it in for warranty, whatever else. The M200 set up, it's ready to go. I literally press a button, turn it on, bink, ready to go. I don't have to change angles. It's just where it is. It's all hooked up. It's ready to go. With both of these options are going to destroy your standard basic webcam setup. But if you don't want to spend the money and you already have a recent flagship phone, you're better off if you don't want to spend the money. It's literally a $7 app. That's what it is. It's $7. So in conclusion, it's kind of going to depend on what your needs are and what your wants are. They're both great cameras. They both perform well. They both seem to have accurate color, accurate representation. They're both good. They can both change their focus the way that you want them to. They both have a ton of settings. The M200 obviously has more. It is a dedicated camera. That's what it's for. Depending on your budget, depending on your needs, you might be better off just sticking with your cell phone. That might be the better option. If you don't got $500 to burn, $600 to burn by the time you get your capture card and everything else, stick with your phone. But if you're running an older phone and you want to upgrade, then the M200, A5100 are probably your best options. If you're running a newer phone and it's already in your pocket and you don't mind having to set it up every time you sit down, you want to save some money, use your phone. So it is what it is. It's your choice, but clearly both of them offer a very similar image. Anyway, hit that subscribe button for me and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.